Chapter 5, TV Story. Back in the kitchen, our automatic marshmallow machine senses how hungry we are and begins firing marshmallow into our mouths. So, said Terry, through a mouthful of marshmallow. What story were you telling the readers when I interrupted you? I was telling them the story of how we met. Oh! I say, oh, I love that story, says Terry. We were both lost in the forest, and then we met and found that house made of gingerbread, and we started eating it, and a nice little old lady came out and invited us in. And then she put you in a cage to fatten you up so she could eat you, which, come to think of it, really wasn't a very nice thing for a nice little old lady to do. So I pushed her into the oven, which, come to think of it, wasn't a very nice thing for me to do. But Terry, I say, that's not the story of how we met. That's Hansel and Gretel. It's a fairy tale. Remember how I told you that Terry can be a bit annoying at times? Well, this is one of those times. Terry frowns and looked confused. Oh yeah, my mistake, he said. I remember now. I was taking some food to my sick grandmother and I met you in the moose. You had big eyes, big teeth, and you were covered in fur in those days. Later you dressed it up in my grandmother's clothes. I never really understood why you did that. I didn't do that, I said. And that was not how we met either. That's Little Red Riding Hood. Terry struck his head. It is? Of course. Sorry, Andy. How could I be so dumb? Hang on, I've got it. There was a castle. We met at the ball and danced it. But then the clock struck 12. You went running off and lost your grass slipper. I looked everywhere for you. I searched the kingdom far and wide, but Terry, I said, you are not even close. That's Cinderella, Terry strokes. Then I gave up. I've got no idea how we met. Well, I say, if you promise to be quiet for the next 21 pages, I'll tell you. Okay, said Terry, I promise. Once upon a time in a faraway land, there was a very big city, and in the very big city there was a very tall tower, and at the top of that very tall tower there was an apartment, and in that apartment there lived a little boy who was very lonely. The little boy was very lonely because he didn't have any friends, and the reason he didn't have any friends was because his parents thought friends were too dangerous. In fact, they thought everything was too dangerous. They never even let the little boy out of the apartment. He lived in a padded room, slept in a padded and non-fold-out bed, and sat in the padded non-fall-out table chair, which, for extra safety, was fitted with airbags and a seatbelt. He wasn't allowed to watch TV. He wasn't allowed to play on the computer. And he wasn't allowed to play with the toys or any other sort of game. All he had to amuse himself with the word books with rounded corners that his parents had selected for him. These books contained no harmful ideas, no characters doing dangerous things, nor any stories involving dangerous or potentially dangerous situations, which means that they didn't contain much of anything at all, really. The lonely little boy couldn't even eat proper food. His parents measured and poured all his food to make sure he didn't choke and served it cold to make sure he didn't burn himself. That is until one day when his parents decided that even cold mustard of food posed too much for a risk, so they put the little boy on an IV drip instead. And as if all that wasn't enough, his parents also filled the apartment with every type of safety alarm possible. They had fire alarms, flood alarms, burglar alarms, spider alarms, tiger alarms, vampire alarms, false alarms, and false alarms. They also had the little boy fitted with a pair of emergency self-inflating underpants just in case he ever fell into water. Now, you might think emergency self-inflating underpants are a really crazy idea, considering the little boy never even left the apartment. But you would be wrong, because as it turned out, they saved the little boy's life. One night, where everybody was sleeping, a power board overloaded with too much safety device overhead and caught on fire. The little boy was woken by the fire alarm. He got out of bed and ran to the door, but his way was blocked by smoke and flames. He ran to the window, but of course it was locked. So the little boy picked up his safety chair, threw it at the window, and smashed a big hole in it. And then he climbed through the broken window and stood in a lounge on the outside of the building. This was by far the most dangerous situation the little boy had ever been in. Well, actually, it was the only dangerous situation he'd ever been at. He looked down at the ground below, a long, long, long way below. He looked back to his bedroom, which was now completely on fire. He knew jumping from the top floor of a very tall apartment tower was an extremely dangerous thing to do, but he knew that staying in a burning apartment was extremely dangerous too, possibly even more extremely dangerous than jumping from the top floor in a tall apartment tower. So he jumped. down. The little boy fell, but he didn't hit the ground. He hit a tree and then bounced off that tree into another tree and then bounced off that tree and hit another tree and then hit a few more trees before falling with a big splash in a nearby river. The little boy couldn't swim, but as soon as he hit the water, his emergency self-inflating underpants inflated and away the little boy floated down the river and eventually far out to sea. Was he all right? Said Terry. Well, that as a matter of fact, he was, I say, because I rescued you in a paddle boat. Me? Said Terry. Yes, because you are the boy in a story. I was? Oh yes, now I remember. It was me. Of course, it was me all along. But what were you doing in a paddle boat? Well, I was actually a whole other story, I said. Is it a long story, kind of? Can we get an ice cream first? What a good idea, I said. Let's go visit Edward Scooperhands. Goodbye, see you soon.